Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Buy up, buy up. In a menudo style in direct fashion, we're going to get straight to the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that I am kicking. And I highly appreciate the support, man. I'm very humbled by it, right? So I've been watching videos on YouTube lately, and people are lightweight having a discussion about a very well-known barrio, El Monte Flores, right? From the SGV. I've been doing time with Vatos from EMF, and I got a gang of stories, right, since I was very young. But before we get into that spill and my perspective on what just happened and the word and NK being used and all that, and we're going to get to that, I want to say, man, a lot of these videos, when it comes to gangs, prison, a lot of the things that we're doing, and it's for entertainment purposes. Right now, doesn't it seem kind of watered down because of everything that's going on in LA, because of the fires and the tragedy and the people losing their homes? To me, it's like, I know it's entertaining. I know people look forward to these spills, and I don't mind doing them, and I love doing them, man. And giving you guys a glimpse into my life of what my life once was and how my life is now and how I've changed, and giving you my, just my input on certain topics, but it all seems like, wow, the world we're living in right now is on fire, and my sympathy and my real sympathy goes out to the people that are in LA that are going through it. And I don't care if you're rich or you're poor or whatever. None of that matters. We're all human, right? And so people are going through some things right now, some shit, man. People are losing everything they have. And I hear people screaming, well, these rich people are losing it. They can afford it. It doesn't matter. It's their shit. Doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor. It's their shit, And my heart goes out to them, man. I couldn't even imagine having to leave my home, everything I worked hard for. That's a big accomplishment, owning a home. And a lot of people will never get the chance to do that again. It's just fucking unfortunate. So when I do these spills, I do it with a heavy heart. Like, okay, I'm going to talk about what I talk about, but at the same time, there's more important things in this world right now that people in Los Angeles and all over the world are going through, right? Just keep that in mind, man, when we're entertained with these spills. So my prayers go out to the families and everybody, man. And that's real. Anyways, okay. So El Monte Flores, SGV, shout out first and foremost to the real ones out there. Shout out to PD Boy from EMF and Incredible Javier and people that I've actually conversed with or came across while in the youth authority or prison. Now, I seen that there's a guy, I think his name is Rodney. Rodney, he goes around and does hood vlogs, goes to different barrios. And of course, you're not just going to pull up to a barrio and show up without being invited or at least been given a pass. You got to check in. That's a fact. But this guy goes to barrios and he does hood vlogs. Cool little lane, dangerous lane, right? You got to respect it. But the way, and he's been doing this for a while and other people have been doing this, the way I see that the people that they're coming into contact with are mostly youngsters. You notice when you watch a lot of these videos, you don't see too many older heads. You don't see too many OGs or veteranos giving these guys tours through their neighborhoods, through their barrios, right? A lot of these things that they're showing are things that have never been spoken on or shown on camera. And that's why it makes for good entertainment, because people are intrigued to see what barrios like Monte, Flores, V&E, even up north in Northern California that I've seen these done videos. People are intrigued to see, what these hoods look like, why guys are sacrificing their life, why guys are sacrificing everything for these barrios, right? And basically every barrio is the same. There might be a little bit of a different mentality, but it's where you grow up, man. You got love for the soil where you toil. That's it. And that's just like Merced, man. I got so much love for it because I grew up there. Now, I know, it's a dangerous area, a dangerous situation, especially for someone like me who's no longer with the shenanigans, but doesn't mean I'm ever going to have a love loss for where I grew up. There's all my memories are there. So he goes to El Monte Flores. He's invited, of course, and he's walking around with a gang of youngsters, and they're in conversation. Okay, they're having a conversation, and all of a sudden the word NK comes up. Now, I've been doing time with EMF for a long time, and I'll tell you this, from what I know and from what I've gathered from Vatos from the neighborhood, from that neighborhood, and I've done time with Vatos from EMF, El Monte Hayes, El Monte Hicks, like straight to the city of El Monte. And I can tell you right now, in the past, there's been a lot of racial intensity between the black and brown community when it comes to that audio. You know, the SGV is different from LA. And these youngsters expressed that to that dude. They said, yeah, bro, we're not like LA. We don't say the N-word. We don't agree with, they keep it puro Mexicano. Now, that takes me back to the Valley, the Central Valley. That's how we used to be. And it wasn't because we were racial against blacks, because I have a lot of black friends. I think in Northern California, the black and brown, have always lightweight gotten in line. I mean, went at it with the Crips. You're going to have certain things, right? Shout out to the Crips, man. I got nothing but love for them, right? But you're going to have certain things where, it just black and brown don't see eye to eye. But it didn't mean that we hated all the people as a whole, not at all. And they didn't hate us as a whole. There was individualism going on. But in the Valley, we didn't use the N-word, or we didn't have too much urban swag. We kept it more the cholo stilo, the gangbanger, the Mexican gangbanger. That's just that was our style. Whereas in the Bay Area, it was more urban. There was more blacks, more browns interaction. And so we had a lot of Norteños that would say the N-word. They would say blood in the Bay Area. And when we'd come into contact with them, and I think the first time I really was around some real Norteños from the Bay Area was in the Youth Authority. And I used to trip out on the homeboys from Oakland. They used to say blood, this and that. Now, when I say the Bay Area, that doesn't mean the whole Bay, because you had the South Bay, like Sanjo, that area, and they didn't do that. But nowadays, North, South, doesn't matter where you're from, everyone's using the N-word, right? I don't. Do I like to see people use the N-word? I don't. I don't even like to see black people use the N-word, to be honest with you. And I've said that because I believe it's a derogatory term that was utilized to belittle and hurt people back in the days. And there's a lot of people, a lot of black people that made ultimate sacrifices, and even Chicanos that fought alongside of him during the Civil Rights Movement to make sacrifices because of what that word was utilized to do, to tear people down. And they fought for that. They fought, against that. And now it's just being thrown around and utilized by these younger generations, these younger kids, like it ain't shit. Like people didn't die behind that word, right? And to me, black and brown, I don't think it should be used, but it's especially brown, because I'm brown, because that word wasn't part of our legacy, part of our cultura. It wasn't for us. It wasn't meant to be for us. Now, the brothers took that word and utilized it and flipped it. They flipped it on the oppressors and made that word their own. That's their word, right? And if you grow up in a black neighborhood from a black gang, and if you're allowed to do it, and if that's what you want to do, you do that. But always be of the understanding of what that word truly meant, and why people and the sacrifices people made. Anyways, so these guys were asked if they used the N-word right there in Monte, and they said they don't, and valleys are like that, And when the Vatos said we're different from LA, they do it in LA, but we're not like that. Not every Vato in LA does that. I remember it was very racial in LA for a long time between black and brown. But them youngsters were in line when they said a lot of people use it now, but they're not going to use it, right? Their Vato is a little bit different. You got to understand, and Monte Flores is that Vato is very old, very well respected. They got a lot of respect in the SGV and in the prison system and on the streets, right? They're known. And for these youngsters to just come out and say that, you could tell he was speaking from the heart. He was speaking real. Now, all of a sudden, I heard the word, he said, we're NK over here. Now, there's been a lot of people. Shout out Chill, man, 16 to Life. Shout out Dubs. He did a video on it. And even MC Shadow did a video on it, right? A few different people. And what did they mean by NK? Now, it's always boggled my mind that Vatos from thousands of miles away can hate each other, right? But it's part of the life, right? When it comes to North and South, it's very tricky. You have Northerners that go at it with Southerners because there's been Southerners in Northern California for decades. And so that's the way they're raised. That's their opposition. So you'll see Vatos with SKs, you'll see Vatos with NKs. That's normal. It's normal to it isn't. In Southern California, I have never, ever, ever, ever seen a South Sider worried, even concerned with what's going on in Northern California. They don't care about the Norteños. A lot of them never even hear the word Norteño through their whole lifetime unless they go to prison. I remember getting to Nellis, Fred C. Nellis, and why, and Balto's looking at us like we were aliens because they didn't understand, where we came from or what we were involved in, and just had never seen someone from up north. Period. And then there's Baltos that have family members that are Norteños, and they go up north, San Jose, Merced, wherever to visit, so they know what time it is, and they don't trip because they're like, hey, these are my primos. It's all good, man. They're just like me, same sangre, right? And then there are those very limited few that have done prison time that get out and they just hate Norteños, or vice versa, right? Vice versa. And to me, it's always just tripped me out. Why you would hate someone so much with a passion that's not even that's never took one of your homeboys out, that's never, disrespected or been in your water, that's never boned your old lady, none of that. But it is what it is. So when these guys said NK, it seems like there was a portion or a snippet of that video that was edited out, right? And Chill from 16 to Life automatically assumed, man, and I don't blame him, that the NK was for, the N-word killer. And because he's been in prison, because he's from Southern California and has an extensive amount of knowledge into the guerra, the war that's been fought between black and brown for decades, right? Because he knows these things, he automatically went, damn, in the context of that conversation, they went from talking about, nah, we don't use the N-word over here, to it's NK on ours. What do you think it is? What do you think that means? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. But then I seen MC Shadow's video, man. Shout out to Shadow. I know we don't see eye to eye, but he had some real good clecha right there. Good information when he said the NK doesn't just mean, N-word killer. It doesn't mean Norteño killer. It could also mean like a neighborhood. I noticed like that happens a lot down south. South, you see a lot of neighborhoods and barrios tagged up, and a lot of like the N's crossed out or the S's crossed out or what H is crossed out or whatever, because they have a lot of hood rivalries, barrio rivalries, and so they cross out the letter of the rival neighborhood. Now, to me, these guys, you got to understand, when that conversation was happening, there was also something that entered into that conversation. I believe it could have been snipped out. I don't know. But I believe when they were talking about Southsiders using the N-word, which I hadn't started seeing until just a few years ago. I guess it's been happening, but I never noticed it, right? And I guess I was just blind to it, wasn't looking for it. But once I started seeing Southsiders use the N-word, or people like Lefty Gunplay saying on gang, on my mamas, on the hood, things that traditionally I've only seen brothers say, right? And even some Northerners. When I seen that, I was like, what? Damn, I didn't know Southsiders got down like that, especially Baltos that dress like cholos and shit. What the fuck is going on here, right? Something different. But it's what it is now. These kids have become urban influenced. Everybody wants to be a rapper. Everyone thinks it's a cool word to say. Everyone wants to be cool, right? Doesn't make you look cool. It makes you look like a fool. That's how I feel. But whatever, right? And so different era, different times. I got to respect everyone. But at the same time, I'll say, fuck, it's a trip. So now I'm seeing this. So in that conversation, what I took out of it, and what I think there was a little part missing, and I've talked with Dubs and he agrees, right? I think that when they were asking about what Southsiders using the N-word, I think there was Vatos that were like, no, Vatos from up north were using the N-word. They're the ones that started that shit. And I think one of them little guys said, hey, this is NK all day. Now, what does that mean? If that's how that guy feels, that's how that guy feels. Do you remember No Jumper about, I don't know, a year and a half ago when G-Face was on there before he got caught up, right? Went to the feds or wherever he's at, wherever fucking where's that fucking Vato at right now? I don't know if they, got him out of the country, or I don't know. He might be in Albania or something. He might be able to, we don't know where he's at. They might have dropped his ass off in the jungle, with the fucking, the bungee tribe so they could bungee him to death. So anyways, that guy was on there and he had a big NK under his arm. And Adam asked him about it, Active Adam. He asked him about his underarm pit because, I guess he wants to know about men's underarm pits. So as he asked him about his underarm pit, the Vato said, "Oh, NK means Norteño killer, right?" And I was like laughing because I was like, "Damn, this motherfucker right here is a liar to fat mouth, right?" And first of all, if you're so hard, you're gonna get NK. Why you get in your armpit where only your fucking chest can smell it, right? Now it's like, come on, bro. Most vatos that are gonna get the NK, especially like in Northern California, SK, NK, they're gonna get it on their face. They're gonna get it where you can see it. It's called an eye buster, right? You don't get it in your fucking underarm pit. But anyway, that was his story. I let him tell it, right? And it was funny because he was talking that shit, but then he was over there trying to talk to Norteños in the cuts, even ex-Norteños trying to give me a phone call. Hey, let's fucking do it live. Fuck you, bro. You know what I mean? Oh, no, I'm cool with that. I made the right move there. But so I knew that was just propaganda. He was trying to show off. G-Face was a show off. I've never seen a Southerner get NK from Southern California because it meant Norteño killer. So I looked at that video over and over again, the Rodney video, and I seen that kid say NK. And to be totally honest with you, it could have meant a few different things. But I think Chill hit it on the head, man, hit it on the nose, to be honest with you. For a minute there, I thought maybe he did say NK, like, oh, we don't, it's not, it's like we don't get along with Norteños. Because right now, just like MC Shadow said, the Norteños and the Southsiders are being more popularized because of social media. There's a lot of Southsiders that wouldn't know Norteños because they just never been around them. But now because of social media, people know each other or they know of, right? It's an eye-opening. Now you could be all over the world on the computer and on the internet. So I understand. But anyways, so this Vato fucking saying the NK word in the context of talking about blacks and using the N-word, it could only mean one or two things. It definitely doesn't mean another neighborhood. We're NK from another neighborhood. It doesn't mean that. And the reason it doesn't mean that, they weren't talking about another neighborhood. Again, things get edited out. Full conversations get edited out. So it's kind of, you take it for what you will. But so what? So what if a particular neighborhood doesn't like blacks or a black neighborhood doesn't like Mexican? Because it goes both ways. How does that really affect everyone? That's their barrio, their neighborhood. And if they don't want a certain element of people there, they don't have to have a certain element of people there. And the same thing goes for the brothers. If they don't want a certain element of people in their hood, they don't have to have a certain element of people. I think things like this, if a person voices his opinion and he feels some type of way or his neighborhood feels some type of way, that's them. That's not everybody. And when we do videos on it and glorify or put a spotlight on what one individual said, it starts to cause division and tension between, factions that are already fucking towing the line. The black and brown community, it's crazy because this gets focused on. Trip out on this. The NK said NK. Do they hate blacks? Does EMF hate blacks or whatever, right? Or Norteños or whatever it is. It's NK, right? Do they hate it? But what about Lefty Gunplay just doing a video with blacks and they're talking about black and brown reunited, right? And they're doing their thing. That song Stupid. Shout out to, I love that song, right? But they're doing that. No one made a video focusing on the black and brown of Southern California, coming together. But I think maybe me and Dubs. That's it. So damn, man, you know what I mean? They're taking a page out of Goto's book, man. They're doing it. And then I even got real deep and I said, man, they've been doing it since the days of Easy-E, man, and Toker for Brownside and all that. I know the history, the black and brown movement. So my thing is, I'm just saying, no one focuses on that. But anytime there's any type of racial or innuendos or any type of derogatory thing, boom, like it's crazy. If them guys feel some way, let them feel that way. They're not speaking. That guy say, yeah, we're NK over here, but they're youngsters. I'm sure they're not speaking for their whole neighborhood. I'm sure they're not speaking for all Southsiders. They're not speaking for nothing like that. They're speaking for them, their little clica right there, their little homeboys. So, it is what it is. It's just a couple letters. And whatever it meant and however you want to take it is how you take it. To me, I look at the context, like I said, of the conversation, and it could have meant two things. It definitely didn't mean a neighborhood. It definitely meant either Norteños because they said Northerners said the N-word first. And the Vatos like, fuck that, we're NK over here, fool. You know what I mean? Like, we ain't fucking with them dudes. Or the more likely scenario is he was talking about the brothers, the blacks. It is what it is, man. I met a lot of blacks that don't like Mexicans either. Hey, I didn't dislike them for that. I just didn't go around them. You know, hey, if I'm not your people, you're not my people. But I'm a firm believer in all this division between black and brown is frivolous, man. And we can help each other. You know, we can help each other. And the first way to help each other is to understand each other. And even though it's been a long time, you got to understand, like I said, these fires, these people's houses that are burning down, things that are happening in LA, they're not picking black or brown. Black, brown, white, green, anyone can get it, right? Think about that when you're saying NK, and think about that when you're making videos, you know, stirring the pot. Shout out to Chill. I'm not saying you, bro. I'm not saying anyone else. I know Chill, very analytical. I have his phone number. He has my phone number. We could talk, right? But what I'm saying is, you know, it's very alarming and concerning when people are pushing propaganda and division. I understand that. But what's more alarming is if we bite into it. With that being said, shout out. And you know what? Just so you guys know how far I go back with EMF, I got into a melee, a very vicious one in Nellis, right? And there was a Vato there. He was with the business. He had a big old fool right here. He was just dark, skinny, just fuck. I hated that Vato because he just mean mugged the shit out of me. He got off one time. We got off. Eventually, I ended up getting off on him. We ended up fucking doing our thing, right? And it was an ugly situation. There was blood everywhere, whatever. And come to find out, he's a YouTuber's nephew. So it's verified. It's a fact, right? That's how far I go back with EMF. Like, I've been going to guerra with them. Them dudes been NK on me for a long time. But I respect them. I respect them. That was one of the vauders I seen while locked up that had a lot of respect for whatever reason, you know? So it just is what it is, man. They're entitled to feel how they feel. You know, we don't know what they've been through, what their neighborhood's been through, the wars down there. And then you got to understand in the valley, there's not as much brothers as there are like in LA and populated areas. So it is what it is. Anyways, with that being said, thumbs up, thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. Let me know in the comments, man, how you feel. What do you think it was really about? And does it even matter with all the shit that's going on now? I don't think it really does, man. That's my take on it. It is what it is. The gun. Bang, bang.